video. Oops, don't run that. That is not something I need open. Goodbye, software. Quit.
Hello, Margaret.
Do not need Photoshop open at all. That's a mistake.
It's weird because that's my sister's name.
Oh, Margaret's your sister's name?
Yeah.
Margaret Merritt?
Well, not anymore.
Well, now, yeah, I guess she has a...
She's married.
Yeah. Margaret Merritt got...
Although Eileen Rivera is also not Eileen Merritt, so who knows?
Good point. We live in 2018. Things are weird.
Yeah. But no, she took her hubby's name.
Nice. Well, he wasn't using it.
I think he might have been.
He might have been, yeah. He might have been. All right. Here goes. This is it for real. And it starts in 3, 2, 1.
I have
Current Geek!
Current Geek! Aha.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Current Geek. This is Current Geek. Weekly proceedings of not the old thing. Here's what it is now. It's the talk show about items of interest for the geeks of the world and you. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Tom Merritt. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Scott. It's good to be back.
Is it, though? Is it?
It is. It really is. It's kind of cool when I know we had to delay last week's episode, so it feels like there's more Current Geek, even though it's the same amount of Current Geek, because we're doing it a few days after we did the last one.
Yeah, not only that, we're doing it about an hour earlier than normal. You've got a thing later, and so because of that, we wanted to make a little room. So I think we've made up for any lack of or any delay we may have had last week. Everyone's fine now. We will assume.
And thankfully, because we're early, Terry J.H. finally gets to listen to Current Geek because he's so excited.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's right. Well, then, I mean, we can't promise it'll be an hour early every time, but...
Coming to the screen.
Yeah, come and join us. Ooh, your hands are big when they get close like that. We're back at it, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to dive right into this week's headlines. Oh, I did that thing I do sometimes. This week's headlines.
Herbert Hoover, Secretary of Commerce in 1922, finds infant radio facilitates news gathering, as do many others in high public office.
Tom, what's going on this week?
Just. You think I'm going to say just something? Just in. No, Just is the name of a company in San Francisco that Scott has grown chicken meat.
What?
For nugget-like consumption from the feather of a chicken.
Wait a minute.
That is still alive.
They took a feather of a...
Chicken's walking around just fine. Doesn't even know he's missing that feather.
And DNA extracted from said feather? Like how did it...
Takes about 2 days to grow enough of the meat to make a nugget in a small bioreactor. There's all kinds of details in the BBC story about how they do that. Just's chief executive Josh Tetrick says it will be on the menu in a handful of restaurants by the end of the year. Well, not in the U.S. because there's kind of an argument about this sort of thing. Because if it's meat, then the USDA regulates it.
Yeah.
If it's not meat, then the FDA regulates it. There's all kinds of hearings. But yeah, maybe China, maybe Europe. You'll be able to go into a restaurant and order some chicken nuggets from a chicken that's still alive.
It's a feather. It's feathered meat.
It's not no feathers in the meat.
Oh, okay.
I think they take the feathers they take cells at the base of the feather, and they use that to grow the cells that turn into the nugget-like meat.
If there's
apparently it's a little softer than nugget meat would normally be.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's pretty close.
I'm okay with soft. It sounds would you say tender is a better term than softer?
Well, they say soft, so maybe not.
Okay. Like, what would you prefer if somebody said to you, "Sir, we're going to serve you some chicken. Would you prefer tender or soft chicken? What would you take?"
Tender.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you take tenders. So that's what I need them to. They probably just need to get the marketing around that. But this is fascinating because have we ever in the history of this or Forecast or any other show we've done has anything come up more? It feels like than vat grown meat. It feels like it's just this evergreen topic that just comes back to us all the time. And now we finally have at least a nugget of new information. Get it?
A nugget of news for you, Scott. Here's the thing. I think it's really interesting because one of the reasons there's the whole USDA, FDA thing is because companies that are typically engaged in growing meat don't want the competition from these sorts of things that claim to be meat but aren't. So they don't want them to be able to call themselves meat because they're like, that's not real meat. That's made in a lab. However, Tyson has rebranded itself as a protein company because they want to get into growing this stuff. They're like, we're not going to get scooped. We're going to get ahead of this. And they're not going to stop selling real chickens, but we're going to get in on this. And they're like, we're agnostic, whether the protein comes from direct from a dead chicken or a live chicken's feather. We don't care. We want to do it.
Well, the home of the chicken chunk over there at Tyson. So I suppose this is as good as anybody to do it. So here's the big question. Let's say they start pounding out multiple nuggets a day.
Sure.
And they call up Tom Merritt and say, look, you're a voice for reason out there on the internet. We'd like to invite you to this event where we're having notable people across all mediums taste test this chicken and then talk about it. Would you eat that chicken?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would absolutely. But come on, Scott. You've been in Nerdtacular.
Yeah, I watched you wash a donut down with Clamato.
I try to be a very reasonable person about news and events. I'll eat anything.
You really will. That's true.
I really will.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not proud.
There's probably some limit. Like if you had a vat of hot cat poo,
I'm not going to eat poison.
Sure. Sure.
I'm not going to eat anything that I know will kill me.
Sure. But like all those like Anthony Bourdain kind of shows where they would go to the far-flung some corner of India nobody'd ever heard of and they eat some weird thing. You'd do that. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Ipsa Veris has a very good question. Is it grown cooked? I do not believe so. I think it's just grown to be muscle meat, and then you still have to cook it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And does this
because they grow it up over a scaffold?
Does this become
to kind of give it form?
Are there any vegans in the chat room? And the reason I'm asking.
That's the big question for me. Yeah.
Does this change how you feel about it? Because in the past, vat-grown meat sometimes meant the death of a host animal or something.
Right.
In this particular case, the chicken's walking around, cock of the walk, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Although I imagine it's probably a hen.
No, a hen of the walk. Hen of the den.
Hen of the pen?
Hen of the pen. There you go. Hen of the pen. Nicely done. So would you, or what does that or does that not change somebody's veganistic opinions about that particular form of meat? Because the whole idea of veganism isn't necessarily, I mean, I know there are health benefits if you're doing it a certain way, but also isn't it mostly that, well, we don't want that chicken to suffer, die, or otherwise?
Yeah, I think vegans would probably still have a very good argument against this because it's about exploitation of animals. And granted, you're just taking a feather that might fall off anyway, but you could make an argument that this still encourages the consumption of animals and that we should just stop eating meat altogether. I imagine some vegans might not make that argument, but a lot would. Vegetarians, though, I think that's where it gets real interesting.
Okay.
Like if you're simply not eating meat because you don't want to kill animals, You're like, I'm fine with eggs, I'm fine with cheese, then this doesn't kill an animal. Would you eat this meat?
Yeah, I'll bet I need to ask my daughter this. She's a vegetarian and she does it mostly because of that. So I bet she'd buy into this. Like, in fact, she'll eat fish. And I always have to tell her, Carter, fish.
Well, that's she's a pescatarian.
She's a pescatarian. She feels. Let's put it another way. She has no remorse for a poor fish, but she's got all kinds of pain in her heart for a chicken.
She doesn't eat dolphin though.
No, she doesn't. No, that comes fully cooked when we get our dolphin here at the house.
Would she eat vat-grown dolphin?
Probably
if the dolphin
not.
Was unharmed.
Probably not, but I would try dolphin. That sounds like.
Well, and the other thing in reality, away from the sort of philosophical questions, is the bioreactor does need protein to encourage the cells to multiply. So there's even like, where's that protein come from? Did you have to kill something to get that protein going? So there's some other issues with this. I would imagine the vegans will probably be like, no, this doesn't help. But the vegetarians who are like, oh, I just don't want the animal to die or suffer. This, free range chicken walking around dropping feathers. Every feather turns into chicken nuggets. I don't know. That you might be okay with that.
Yeah. Do you miss wings? Do you miss nuggets? Do you miss? Well, it probably wouldn't be wings because they'd be boneless, right? Unless they want to get real crazy.
Yeah. Right now they're just talking about nuggets.
Just flesh.
Yeah, I guess they could form them into wing-like proportions, I suppose.
See, that's, in my opinion, it makes it a little worse no matter what your preferences are, because like when you go buy a McRib, there's no ribs in that. It's just mushed into the shape of like a little
it is rib meat shape, though, isn't it?
I think it's vatted rib meat, like
it's recovered rib scraps.
Correct, but they shape it to look like it's got the like rails to it. It's horrible. Don't ever eat those. Not into that. So I don't want, I guess what I'm saying is have this come in whatever form it comes in. If it tastes good, I'm fine with whatever shape it is. You don't have to make, a breast or a leg or a wing or any of the things you would normally associate with chicken meat to make me happy. I'll eat it the way it is. It's fine.
Well, the Telegraph reports that officials from the Chinese city of Chengdu announced plans to orbit a satellite by 2020. That's right. The city, 14 million in this city, has its own space division, wants to orbit a satellite by 2020 capable of reflecting sunlight onto the city's streets at night to save it money on the operation and maintenance of streetlights. A reflective coating would direct the light over a 50 square mile area. It would be sort of a dusk level of light, so not like sunlight in the middle of the night. Russia's Znamya project explored a similar idea between 1992 and 1999, but it never stayed up. And officials told CIF News that testing showed this satellite from China would produce 8 times as much light as the moon.
So, first of all, I love this story. It's perfect for our show. Secondly, I have all kinds of questions. They're probably just math questions, but I have them. If
a moon is traveling in orbit at 70 miles an hour and a real moon is traveling in the opposite direction at 800 miles an hour.
Well, see, that's the question. If I was in China and I looked up, and let's just pretend I could see it. I know I wouldn't, but during the day, it would still be over our heads, right? And then at night, it would still be there doing its thing. It would just have to maintain that particular asynchronous.
Yes, it's called geostationary orbit.
Okay. And they could do that relatively easy. We don't have a problem with that now? That's a thing we can do?
That's how you get most satellites to work, is you put them in geostationary orbit. So they just kind of orbit at the same rate that the Earth is rotating and just stay. That's where all your communication satellites are, in geostationary orbit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to keep them working.
That's a good point. You'd only have it during a certain portion of the day, and then about 4 o'clock it'd start breaking up. You're like, well, I guess I'm not going to have GPS tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, see, all of that, everything I asked there, I know sounds ridiculously obvious to people at home, but I've never actually questioned it. I've always just thought, oh, they're up there. Where? I don't know. Are they...
They're whizzing around, doing something.
They figure out a way to make them better. Because I remember when I was a kid and they first introduced those big satellite TV things out in people's yards.
Yeah.
They were really fishy. Like, they would kind of work and then not work and then sort of work at night but terrible in the morning or whatever. And a lot of that was like weather interference and a million other things we weren't good at yet. But I just assumed it's because, well, we don't know where it is at any given time in the sky, and you'll be lucky if you get a station that way.
No, actually, the geostationary orbit was a pretty early ability. There's not too much problem. Once you could control the rate at which they orbit, you can have it orbit faster or slower or just stay in place. So it's essentially constantly falling.
Yeah.
Right. So think of it like you've got the curved surface of the Earth, and you got the thing above it,
right,
and it's falling towards the Earth, but then the Earth moves away. So it has to fall a little more, but then the Earth moves away. So it's falling at a rate that never catches up with the ground.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm like ground control. You're like Major Tom. And I'm ground control to Major Tom. Hey, help me answer these.
I'm not actually literally a major, but I am a Tom.
Okay. No, you can have the current geek official rank Major Tom. Done.
Oh, really? So you can bestow the rank in the current geek order. I will be officially a major now. I'm
mostly because your last name or your first name is Tom, and that's funny because it's Major Tom.
Instead of the leaves that a major gets, can I get a shamrock?
You can. Yes, you can totally get a shamrock. You have Irish heritage, right?
I do. Then yeah, totally genetically legit. Proven.
Yeah, oh, really?
I have Irish Scandinavian in me, yeah. You did Irish, English, German, French, and Scandinavian.
Did you do the 23andMe deal, or what was it? I think I keep thinking about doing that. But my sister's done it, and she's from me, or she's from where we are, so why do I check it? I don't have to check it, right? My siblings already paid for it.
No, my sister has a different result than I do, because we do have Native American ancestry, but I didn't get any of those genes. And she did.
Oh, weird.
Because you don't get all the genes.
Okay.
When meiosis and mitosis and all that stuff goes on.
I got the halitosis. Just kidding.
TVZ Gun says, I am the very model of a modern major tech pundit.
Oh, that's just like him to say something funny. Nice
Beautiful.
job. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well done.
I am also sitting in a tin can.
Great.
The YouTube channel Derpfakes used some AI to put Harrison Ford's face on Alden Ehrenreich's body in scenes taken from Solo, a Star Wars story. And people seem to think it was pretty good. Did you see this?
I had not before today's show, but I have since taken a look. It reminds me of whatever they did to kind of work. I know it's not the same, but it reminds me of how things looked in Ant-Man and what was the other movie where they made somebody look young? Marvel movie. Anyway,
Civil War. They actually didn't they?
Yes,
they made
maybe it was.
Danza,
oh yeah,
whatever his name
Tony
is.
Danza. Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. I know.
Military industrialist Tony Danza. It's pretty effective. Like, it's young Han Solo's face mapped on top of, well, here, Chad, I don't know why I'm telling you when I can just show you.
If you're watching the video, yeah.
Yeah, here's a GIF of it. There's a whole video. I recommend you go check out the entire thing on IO9.
I'll be honest. I've watched it twice now, and both times I'm like, I don't know, it just makes me think Alden Ehrenreich looks more like Harrison Ford than I thought.
Well, I mean, when he's in
I don't know, maybe it's a problem in my perception. Maybe hair weighs too heavily in what I think someone looks like, because they don't change the hair, they just change the face. But I was not blown away by this. It took me a while to be like, yeah, I guess that's Harrison Ford's face.
When he's walking with her, with Dragon Queen, in that little bit, it's very, very effective. When he's driving the speeder, I'm not sure it looks as good. It looks a little big for what it should be. Like, there's something off there proportion-wise.
There definitely are parts where the facial symmetry or the way it's stitched in is smoother than others, but no matter what, it just never really popped out as like, wow, now it looks like Han Solo. Like I don't know, it doesn't look that different than the real movie.
If he looked,
to me, I'm not saying that everyone's wrong.
Right.
Everybody seems to really have been like, whoa, now it looks like Han. And I just didn't get that. I'm actually kind of jealous.
Well, also, does it really change much? Like, I mean, I miss young Han Solo, Harrison Ford also, but
yeah,
he doesn't exist anymore. So,
well, and
I don't know that this helps me like Solo any worse or better. It's just weird.
Yeah, part of me thinks like, oh, well, if you really were upset that it wasn't Harrison Ford, maybe you're dying to see Harrison Ford, and this looks better to you. But I'll be honest, when I watched Solo, I looked at Alden Ehrenreich. I'm like, he doesn't really look like Harrison Ford to me, right? But like you said, it didn't bother me. I'm like, well, whatever. It's suspension of disbelief. It's a movie. The Harrison Ford, the Han Solos in the comic books always look different depending on the artist too, and that doesn't bother me. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then I watched this. I'm like, well, he doesn't look that different than Alden Ehrenreich now because of the hair.
Right. Right. Exactly. The hair still sort of looks like him, and it throws me. Did they? They didn't do the whole movie though, did they? They just went and did some select scenes.
No, I think they just did like bits of the trailer.
I wouldn't mind seeing the entire thing.
But I mean, what they're doing is cool. It's a machine learning thing that takes actual footage of Harrison Ford, processes it, matches it up, and makes it stitch on fairly seamlessly, depending on the scene, with Ehrenreich. So the technical achievement here is pretty impressive, and something you should be aware of, that this kind of fakery can happen. But I'll be honest, like, I don't know.
Has that ever made you nervous, by the way, the idea that we can technologically, some dudes on a YouTube channel can fart around and make something look super real like that?
It's always that. From Photoshop, from the printing press to the Photoshop to the derp fakes, it's always been that thing of like, ooh, now this thing that couldn't be faked can be faked. What does that mean? It means we get better at understanding context and sources and critical evaluation of who's telling us what. And we start to notice things we didn't notice before to tell whether a fake is there or not. It's the march of human progress, in my estimation.
Yeah, it's mankind we finally grappled with what Photoshop can do, and we've come to terms with the idea that you need to be very scrutinizing when it comes to imagery. Yeah. And now we're being told, oh, what about moving images with lighting and everything that puts them in the play? Like it just feels like a new level of challenge. And we'll
my grandpa always said, don't believe anything you read and half of what you see. His name was Will Rogers.
Really?
Well, no, my grandpa always said that, but it was a Will Rogers
quote. That was a Will Rogers quote. And I'm thinking, man, not only is he named real Will Rogers, but I don't know if he knew that was a quote from a more famous Will Rogers. Yeah. Very impressive. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, go watch that, you guys. io9.com has it. Go check it out.
Are you sad about Toys R Us going away?
A little bit. I mean, I have some fondness for them. Yeah, sure.
I've got news for you then.
Uh-oh.
Not for anyone else. Everyone else just shut your ears.
We're going to mute everybody. Goodbye, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Okay.
Toys R Us creditors. So it went through bankruptcy, and the creditors who it owes the money to now control a lot of Toys R Us. They've sold off a lot of its assets, including buildings and location and such. But they did not sell off the intellectual property of the names. The creditors still own Toys R Us, Babies R Us, and the mascot Jeffrey. Well, Jeffrey turned up at the Dallas Toy Preview with a cape saying he was back from vacation and including the brand name Jeffrey's Toy Box. The idea is to open up several locations in November this year called Jeffrey's Toy Box, often as a shop within a shop. So let's say you're, I don't know, a Nordstrom's. I'm not saying they're doing it with Nordstrom's, but as an example, you're in a Nordstrom's and there's a branded area for Weston sheets, right? Mm-hmm. This will be like that. You'll be in a place and there'll be a branded area of Jeffrey's Toy Box with cool toys selected from the Toys R Us family, which they still own. They still make some toys.
Yeah.
They still manufacture some toys. So those toys will be in there. And there's also plans to bring back Toys R Us branded stores at some point. They're trying to rise like a phoenix from the ashes.
Well, I'm all for this, actually. I think this more of a boutique approach to a toy store is actually a smart one. I assume these are going to be smaller, not giant warehouses full of way too many toys. And because of that, you're probably talking about a more manageable business model in the current climate. And I have some fondness and, nostalgia for that place. So I have zero problem with this. Like, I can't even think of a thing to complain about. In fact, this is how I think this stuff should go. If somebody's in trouble, they got to do bankruptcy, they have to close down, whatever they do. It's always a nice little end point to see that there's a glimmer of hope. I just won't be able to go in there and get, cheap PlayStation games probably.
What are the Toys R Us brands? It's like
what do they make?
Journey Girls, Fastlane, True Heroes, You and Me, Imaginarium. Those are all Toys R Us stuff. So I assume that's the kind of thing. I mean, I guess the smart thing would be to buy a toy website, and then marry it up to this concept, and then have like Amazon type stores where the stuff you buy on the website is also available in there, and they've got these branded toys that they make.
Mm-hmm.
That would be part of that.
Yeah, it's a good name. I don't think, a lot of people want to laugh it off as saying, finally they're gone. I don't know why they lasted so long. I am less cynical about it. I think it's a lot of things going on, but I think there's a part of this that is just the nature of the business, and they got caught on the wrong end of it. And if they have a way to keep a foot in the game, I would support that. I would buy something at the Jeffrey's Toy Box is what I would do.
A foot, a heel, a neck.
A big long neck, those two stubby pointy things on top. Yeah.
Because Jeffrey's a giraffe.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If
you're into giraffes, I got good news, everybody.
Good news, everyone. Giraffes are in. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it's smart to go small. And when you have branded toys like this, it makes sense to try to make a comeback and own the supply chain. But there's got to be, I don't know, there's got to be some internet strategy of some part.
Oh, it has to be, right?
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So
maybe they bring him to your house. Maybe they pick you up like an Uber, take you where you want to go, and leave you with the toy on your way out. No, it's probably a bad idea. Okay, how about this? What if they got nothing else? I guess they just should sell toys. That's all they can do.
The problem is that's what Amazon is for, right?
Yeah.
So maybe what you do if you're these creditors, you try to build up what assets you have left and then you sell it to Amazon.
Well, there's your answer then. I like it. Actually, Amazon having a branded product line of toys that are...
I mean, they have that. They already have Amazon branded everything.
That's true. So probably they don't desire this, but if they had, I don't know, if they suddenly said, hey, Amazon's proud to announce that we're going to be the online source for Joffrey's Toy Box. Jeffrey. Sorry, not Joffrey.
Joffrey's Toy Box is just severed heads. That's not selling very well.
No, and at the end, it's just poison. It's not good. But yeah, like... the
purple Joffrey doll.
All right, if you guys have seen Game of Thrones, you'll know why that was freaking funny. Nice job, Tom. The purple Joffrey face doll. Brilliant. I know what I want for Christmas.
With an ad on Tyrion.
Oh, man. These are all good ideas, none of which should come to pass if we're...
It's the Joffrey wedding playset.
See, there's even more.
With real choking sounds. Okay, anyway, no, that's not what they're doing.
Very nice. All right. Well, go check it out. If someone sees one of these, you let us know. I'd love to know what this place is like, and I don't
send us some pictures, CurrentGeek@gmail.com.
I saw a Texas a Texas state logo thing with somebody walking next to him. Maybe these are happening in Texas. Article doesn't get too deep into where.
Oh, no, it was the Dallas. I think I mentioned that.
Oh, did you say Dallas? Oh, I missed that reading through it.
The Dallas toy preview was where this was held.
Oh, that's why. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Don't mess with Dallas.
Yeah.
Or it will send you to Fort Worth.
It'll mess with you.
Juna Kohlmeyer at Carnegie Observatories in Pasadena, California, and Sean Raymond at the University of Bordeaux, France, calculated whether a moon orbiting a planet could have a moon of its own.
What?
Something that has been theorized for a long time, but they did the math in the most rigorous way it's been done in a long time. No such object has yet been identified, but if it was, the name could be submoon. Or even moon is seriously being considered as the name for an object orbiting a moon.
Okay. Moon is when Moon Zappa exposes her bum to you. All right, so here's my thinking.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, it's amore.
It's
when
amore.
the moon hits your eye like a pizza pie, that's a personal-sized amore.
Oh, I see. All right, so here's my thinking. Isn't it possible, I don't want to blow anyone's minds here, but isn't that already what our moon is? Like, aren't we just a moon with life on it? At the end of the day, we're just spherical.
Well, no. Okay. This is. We had decided like really all we are just rocks, right?
Right.
But we decided that rocks that orbit the star that we're near, we're going to call planets.
Yeah.
And then rocks that orbit the planets, we're going to call moons.
Right.
Well, we never saw any rocks orbiting the moon, so we never needed a name for it. But theoretically, it's possible. So now they're like, well, what would we call that? If you had a rock orbiting the rock that's orbiting the rock that's orbiting the star, would you call it a moon?
Do we have an easy way to even like observe this? Like Ganymede, for example, is a moon.
Yeah.
Maybe it has some orbiting moons or bodies of some
well,
sort.
I mean, we sent so many probes to most of these places, we would have found it.
Yeah.
By now.
That makes a good point.
I guess possibly. See, the problem with the asteroid belt is those are small rocks, which we've decided are not planets.
Right.
They're asteroids.
Right.
So if you have one of them orbiting the other, it's just two asteroids. So
right.
You get to call it.
Well, maybe that's the naming convention we go with. It shouldn't be moons. That's dumb. No one's doing that. Submoon I could live with, but like a moon. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Like a moonite or a moonlet. How about a moonlet?
Moonlet. I like moonlet.
Yeah, like a little moonlet.
Because it almost sounds like satellite. Yeah. Moonlet.
Yeah. See?
And it's like, a little moon.
Yeah. Micro moon. Moon micro.
Micro moons available from Toys R Us.
Toys R Us. Jeffrey's play box or toy box.
Jeffrey's moon box. I don't want Jeffrey mooning anyone.
No,
in part of this promotion.
No, heavens no, we don't want that. But yeah, like I there's something about this. Like I always feel like when man finds out, ooh, there's other moons around moons, and let's say we do, then we'll find out, oh, there's moons around those moons, and there's moons around those moons, and then we'll find out all these subatomic particles nobody can see that's orbiting everything. Everything has a moon. You just didn't know it this whole time.
Those are just called electrons.
Right. Oh, that's true. At the end of the day, they are electrons. I've already cracked the code here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Those were great articles, I can tell you that, and they were provided in part by our fantastic listeners over at our subreddit, which is at currentgeek.reddit.com. My brain went a different way, and my mouth didn't follow. And I want to thank some of those people.
It was your brain.
Exactly.
It was orbiting your main brain.
Tom, the tradition is we thank them by name. Who can we thank this week?
This week, we can thank Ripley Ludacris, Crazy Kev. Love the welcome Crazy Kev to the family. Yeah. Jeff Rose, Loop Guru, and Tipo DeCinta all submitted stories we used today on the show. Thank you to them and everybody who voted for their stories and other stories. They're all fun to read through every week at Current Geek's subreddit, CurrentGeek.reddit.com.
I love the name Loop Guru. It's a great name.
Loop Guru.
All right, real quick.
Guru's Toy Box.
Before we get to our forecast for the day, I would like to mention that if you like this show, we have a great way to support it. You may have heard of it before. A lot of podcasts use it, and so do we. It's called patreon.com/currentgeek. And if you go there and you toss us a little scratch, doesn't have to be much, why it helps this show continue to exist and grow. So if you have even just a thought of doing that, head on over and do it. And for those who already do, thank you from the bottom of my heart and Tom's. And Tom really... Oh, breaking news.
That's breaking news.
Uh-oh. Beep, 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 beep.
It's not Loop Guru.
Oh.
Thank you. Tailsarel in the Twitch chat says it's pronounced Lou Garou because it's French for werewolf.
Oh, the P's silent.
Lou Garou.
And
thankfully, Patrick's not here to smack me.
Now, you said Tailazorial. I say Tailzorial. No, what do I say? Tazorial. Tailazorial. Whatever. Now we're getting it. It's the 3 levels deep. The meta game is lost.
It's pronounced Tailzorial.
Ah, see?
Gawa.
Take that, Patrick. I'm glad you cleaned that up. All right. Well, there's that. And now there's this.
The future promises even more startling things to come.
This segment used to be a show. It's now a segment. It's called Forecast. It has the number 4 in it because it used to be 4 people doing it. But now it's not. It's just Tom and I. We should call it 2Cast.
Your explanation gets longer.
I know. I kind of do it because I know there are a couple of people who hate it.
At one point, Tom called me and said, hey, I've got an idea for a show.
And I said, sure. And then he called me back and we made plans. And now we do it as a segment. It's called Forecast. And we predict the future. And it's in all kinds of areas. And the one I've chosen to focus on today is the biomedical field. And you'll forgive me because I just had an experience with this today that reminded me of it, and that's why I used it. Sooner than later, we will be taking flu pills once or twice a year and no more shots. Shots will be gone. That'll be the end of it. My selfish reason is I got a flu shot on this arm. Oh, I got a whooping cough one on this arm because my doctor says this is the year to get that. And now both of them hurt like a mother. I can't go higher than that or else it freaking hurts. So I just want to pop them down, swallow half a glass of water, and move on with my day. That's what I want. So that's what's going to happen. I predict it.
What if you didn't even have to swallow anything?
Well, don't they have inhalers now for that? Like you can.
What if they just could transport the medicine into your veins?
Okay, even better. All of these ideas are better than what they
like a hypo spray, right?
Sure.
Like basically, I always imagine. I know there are actual like explanations of how the hypo spray in Star Trek is supposed to have worked.
Yeah.
But I always imagined it before I read any of the extant literature on the topic that it was like a mini transporter.
Right.
And so you'd hold it next to where you want it to go, and it would find the nearest vein or artery, and then just like boop. Transport the medicine into you,
right?
Because it didn't use needles, right? We're not barbarians, for goodness sake. So you've got Dr. McCoy's blessing for your wish here, but I'm saying, why settle with pills? Pills can gag you. They taste awful. Let's come up with something where it just gets in you.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Like I don't want to.
Oh, a patch. Ipsiveris is full of good ideas today. Yeah, a patch.
A patch would work, right? And maybe some of these may exist already. I haven't done the research, but. It seems like it's all shots all the time, and they didn't hurt going in, but they hurt now. And they say, that's just normal.
It swells up around your muscle and all that, yeah.
Hurts like a mother.
That means it's working.
It also itches. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does, actually.
Does it? It means it's working?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe
your body's going like, this is a horrible thing, and learning what the flu virus is so it can never let it infect you again.
Right. It's like saying, I want to load my computer up with a virus so that it will now no longer. I wish computers worked that way.
It actually is, though, like your antivirus program knowing what the code looks like for a virus, so when it tries to download it goes,
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing. Everyone always says you get a little bit of the flu when you take the thing. And I talked to them today, and they confirmed what I already knew, which is that's not true. However, the whooping cough one does have cases where you get a little bit of a cold, little sore throat, a little runny nose.
Yeah, the flu virus is usually a disabled virus, so you wouldn't get the flu.
Yeah.
It's just the antigens. But the whooping cough is actually like gives you a little whooping cough, huh?
A little bit, a little minor one. Carter is already feeling it. I don't yet.
Do you go whoof whoop
whooping woohoo? That's why it's such an annoying cough.
Oh, it's the worst. You don't want to get that cough.
It's not bad for your health.
Not only be deadly sick, but you'll annoy everyone.
It's just bad for your social life, not your health.
Yeah, polio. Yeah, deadly sick, but people just feel bad for you.
Sure, exactly.
You're not annoying them with your whoop whoop.
Even if this doesn't work for me this year, I'm helping with herd immunity, and I'm happy to be doing it.
Yes.
See if we can trigger some
absolutely.
anti-vaxxers.
Everyone, get the flu shot because even if you get the flu. Because of the flu shot, you have helped your community in general get the flu less often because the flu shot itself will prevent that kind of flu from being passed through you.
Right.
The problem with the flu shot is it's like saying this is the sickness shot, and everybody's like, I got the sickness shot, and then I got sick. And if we'd all know that's silly, because like, well, did you get a cold? Did you get the flu? Like, there's all kinds of ways of getting sick.
Right.
And so calling it the flu shot doesn't identify that there's like hundreds of types of flu. The flu shot prevents against some of them, but not all of them. So nobody notices when they don't get the flu. Right. Nobody goes, hey, I didn't get the flu today. Boy, that flu shot really worked. Right. You just go, that's another day. Yeah. But you notice when you get the flu, even though it is because you got the flu shot, not the flu shot not the flu that the flu shot was preventing.
Right.
So I feel like we should rebrand flu into like, 100, like this is the H1V1, H1B1, X1D1 shot. If you won't get those.
Mm-hmm. They do that with major stuff, but they don't break down the little mini ones. Like last year was a big FUBAR, I guess. If you got one of the shots early in the fall, you probably did not get the inoculation against the major flu that year because they hadn't narrowed it down.
Because they didn't know what it was.
But if you had it, but if you went and got it in November, then you did. So and I had a doctor tell me, look, you wait till mid to late October. That's like prime time to get it, which is what we did. And I bet there must be a whole bunch of people know this or think this because all the places you go to get them have been packed with people or out of shots. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good that they're out of shots, but it's good that people are getting the flu shot because the more people get the flu shot, fewer people get the flu.
Fluer people. I like it.
Fluer.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, because, I mean, the thing to remember is it's not just about you not getting the flu. It's also about you not passing it on.
Right.
A lot of people are like, well, I never get the flu, so why would I get the flu shot? And I get that. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But you could get the flu shot because if you never get the flu, it doesn't mean you don't get the flu. It means you don't get it enough to notice the symptoms, but you still catch it and pass it on to grandpa who died because you didn't notice you had the flu. So if you get the flu shot, it kills it before you can pass it on, and grandpa lives.
Yeah,
just saying.
There you go. I've had friends in their 30s, a friend in his 30s who always said, I'll never get the flu shot. Why? Because I never get the flu. I don't need it. It's a bunch of crap. Okay, great. He didn't get it. Almost died. This close because he got the flu 1 year and almost died. Now, I'm not saying 100% chance he would have survived that if he had gotten this flu shot. I don't know. There's no way to know. But he would have really hedged his bets. Yeah. I'm very excited about all the email we're going to get from anti-vaxxers who we've triggered today. So you can kill all the grandpas and Scott's friend, or you can get the flu shot. There's your choice. It's just that rational. It's just that reasonable. All the grandpas. All right. Let's see what else. So that's our prediction. If you guys have your own predictions, you can
save grandpa.
Save all the grandpas. There's a bunch of them too. There's also this. It's the best thing of all time this week. And we begin with Tom, where we talk about the thing that we're doing this week that we think is the best thing of all time, at least for the moment. Tom, what is it?
Could be a thing, could be a show, could be a book. And in fact, this week mine is a book. I don't think I've mentioned this before. Apologies if I have, but I am just about to finish Queen of Crows by Mike Cole. This is I'm gonna bear it all, Scott.
Okay.
I started reading the first of these books, The Armored Saint, because we interviewed Mike Cole for Sword and Laser. I've had Mike Cole on DTNS because he is got an insight into cybersecurity.
Sure.
Mike Cole's just a really nice guy. And I thought, you know what? I should read his book. So I read it and I loved it.
Whoa. Okay.
Like, it wasn't one of those like, oh, I want to love it. And I do. It was like, this is better than I expected. So the second book, Queen of Crows, just came out, and I'm just tearing through it. And I don't tear through books. It takes me a long time to read books, but it's fantastic. It is about a world where wizardry has been banned because the prevailing order says that if you conduct wizardry, demons will crawl out of your eye and kill everyone.
Whoa.
So if anyone is caught conducting wizardry, they have to be knitted, which means you kill everyone in the village just to make sure no wizards crawl or no demons crawl out of anyone's eye. Well, turns out maybe that can happen. Maybe it can't. But some people are practicing wizardry in the short corners and nothing's happening. And on top of that, a little girl figures out, kind of gets thrown into a situation. She's like 12 or so, where she has to operate a big mecha suit that runs on something called Seethstone, and saves her village. And that's why the first book is called The Armored Saint, because she's this like teenage girl who, in a big old mechanical mecha suit, saves everybody's lives. And Queen of Crows is her further adventures.
This sounds great. I think I'm into it. There's a picture of the author in chat room. You can take a look at him. He looks like a cool dude. So fantasy, squarely in the fantasy realm, yeah?
Yeah, no, this is a fantasy world with wizards and steampunk at the best. Like the suit is very mechanical, and the Seethstone is his sort of trope for like, well, this is how it's powered. It's water poured on some kind of thing that causes some reaction that can power the suit.
All right.
But otherwise, there's no electricity or anything like that.
I'm super into everything you're selling here. This all sounds good to me. All right. I've been looking for actually a new series when I get kind of done with my Joe Abercrombie fits, which I also like a lot. For me, this week, my favorite, coolest thing happening at the moment is a little game that just went on sale at 50% off, which is the lowest it's ever been. It's a game called Opus Magnum. It's backwards from the usual usage, which is magnum opus. But it's a puzzle game that is also very mechanical. And the best way I can describe this is it's a puzzle game where you have certain goals you need to complete. And in order to complete those goals, you have a number of mechanical devices that have certain functions, like they can rotate, they can extend, they can retract, they can pick up a element, drop an element, they can run an element through a process that changes the element. If this sounds complicated, on the surface it feels like it should be, and it's what kept me away from it for so long, because I was just like, I don't have the brain power to deal with this right now. Turns out I was dead wrong, and $10 is a really dumb low price for this. Like it's that good and completely worth your time. But you build these little, almost not quite, what do they call Rube Goldberg devices, but not quite that. Not exactly that. It's sort of that though. Where you go and you build out these elements. It actually strikes me as a thing you would really dig. What I like about it the most is it's not, oh, there's one solution and I need to find it game. It's, here's the solution, or here's the end result, but I've got, with my own brain and creativity, I've got hundreds of possible solutions. I just have to get creative about what they are. And that really sets it apart, because most puzzle games are like, figure it out, good luck to you. There's only one way to do it, a lot of guesswork. This is not that. In fact, you can have a very sloppy solution, but if it works, who cares? Like, because it still works. So you can
get this on Steam or GOG.
GOG or Steam, correct. This would be a perfect tablet game. I wouldn't be surprised if they are working on a port. It's not that old, so it wouldn't shock me if they weren't, because it would be a perfect tablet game, but it plays extremely well on PCs, on Macs, and I have the Steam versions where I got it for 10. And at that price, it's just stupid cheap. Like, it's just so worth getting. I'm only, I don't know, 10 puzzles in, but it's already challenged me in a way that I like. I don't normally like puzzle games that make me feel frustrated because I can't figure something out. This one's more like, all right, I have the tools. I just have to be creative about it. It's almost like making your own machine, and when you figure out a way to do it, it may be the only way, or sorry, it may be the only time anyone did it the way you did it. Everybody else in the world may have tried it and failed.
There's not one solution to each puzzle.
Right, which is so great. So I'm super impressed with it. It's way smarter than I think I was giving it credit for before I picked it up, but it is out there. It is available. It is called Opus Magnum, and is available now just for 10 measly bucks on Steam.
Not Magnum Opus. If you're thinking Magnum Opus, stop.
Yeah,
it's
stop.
Not what it's called.
Stop thinking
Opus
that.
Magnum.
Yeah,
backwards.
you're not,
Opus Magnum.
Right.
Opus Magnum. Queen of Crows. Opus Magnum. Queen of Crows. Now you go.
The expansion for Opus Magnum is Queen of Crows. Got it. Nailed it.
Perhaps by my call.
I am definitely going to be picking that book up. Anyway, so those are our two this week. If you like those things and would like to send in your own things, you can do that too by sending an email to currentgeek@gmail.com. Like Chris did, you send us a quick email that says, I'm roughly the same age as both of you are. And it just dawned on me while watching Thor Ragnarok again this weekend that the films that will hold nostalgia for kids born in the 2000s won't be Star Wars films, but will be these Marvel films.
Wow.
Like the Star Wars films of the 70s and 80s, the Marvel films today deliver fun and peril with lots of action and connected universes. You could even argue that while the Star Wars universe has a galaxy-sized playground, the Marvel movies have done a better job of realizing a galaxy-sized scope. Would it be the best to let the Star Wars films rest for a couple more decades? Chris, I don't know if this is an argument for doing that, but I don't disagree with him about how these will be thought of later. My son was born in 2000, and his favorite movies, it's actually a pretty varied list, but among them are always Marvel films. Like, he loves these movies, and I suspect that when he's in his 20s and 30s and 40s, he'll look back very fondly on those movies, on these movies that we're having now, and think of them in a really special way. And who knows, even then, you know, Marvel may have jumped the tracks by then and starting to suck, and we'll be having the same conversation again about that. So
shouldn't Marvel just give it a rest for a couple of decades?
Yeah.
I mean, giving it a rest for a couple of decades is no solution, right? The idea, I get it, Chris, I'm not picking on you. The idea is like, you're out of good ideas, stop and rest until you get better ideas, or the people with bad ideas all go away, and then you can start over again. Maybe that works, but it doesn't have to be that. Marvel was continually making movies up until Hulk and Iron Man. They didn't give it a rest. They just finally hit on a good idea. Because the other argument is, don't give it a rest, keep trying. But keep trying different things. Don't keep trying the same thing. And it does feel like maybe that's what Lucasfilm is edging towards with Benioff and Weiss, and giving Rian Johnson his own series, and even with the Mandalorian series, to say, like, try different stuff. Let's finally try to get out of the box. But I think their hands were tied because everyone wanted more Star Wars Skywalker saga when they said we're going to make more Star Wars movies. And so I think they felt like they had to do 3 more movies, because there had always been that myth out there that Lucas had 9 movies in mind, even though it probably was never true. But we always had that. So fulfilling that wish, I think, was fine. And I think they've actually done personally, I think they've done a good job. I've enjoyed these movies. But yes, I also agree with Chris that Marvel has done a better job of the galaxy-sized universe. But rather than have Star Wars just quit and give it a rest, maybe just keep throwing some spaghetti at the wall, and then finally, when it sticks, say, "Hey, spaghetti's stuck on the wall. We should clean that up."
Yeah, or eat it. We should eat it. Yeah.
Don't eat it off the wall, though.
Well,
you might have lead paint.
I don't know.
Check the disclosure on your house first.
If I'm gonna eat some fake chicken nugget, I think I can probably muster a little wall spaghetti.
Don't eat lead.
Well, just saying. No,
lead flavored spaghetti.
I agree with you a whole bunch, and I would also just add that you could argue that Star Wars in its most best incarnation, in its heyday, was a thing of its time and was best suited for that, for its explosive growth, for the generation it was affecting, like all of those things being kind of perfect stormy. You could argue that that's what was going on there, and you could make that same argument for now. We're at the right place with technology, with the way films are made, with the way the rest of the world works, with the way the internet has played a part in it, that maybe, just maybe, these Marvel movies are the perfect thing for right now. And Star Wars feels less perfect for right now. It's possible.
Yeah.
But I'm with Tom. I don't want to just throw it all out. Like, I would much rather
keep trying.
Keep trying. Yeah, keep at it.
I think there's a better chance of success if you keep trying.
Right.
Fail faster, Star Wars.
Fail much faster, if you could, please.
Or I don't know, maybe not. I do think that Superman gets short shrift when we think of nostalgia movies from the 80s, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the Superman movies were great.
No, they were
I'm not saying
awesome.
every one of them was as good as the other ones. There were some weaknesses.
I mean,
but the series as a whole was I have great fondness for.
I loved 1 and 2. I think 3 and 4 were totally off the rails, but outside of that, even now, there
are parts of 3 I love still.
Yeah, there's
not
okay
a
stuff
complete
in 3.
Love.
4's really bad though.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there.
Really bad.
But and also Indiana Jones.
Yeah, same deal.
In the 80s.
Yeah. No, not that.
Anyway,
not the 2008 one. That thing sucked.
Yeah. Romancing the Stone. Okay, wait a minute. I'll stop.
Well, anyway, thank you, Chris, for your email. We
Queen
appreciate
of Crows
it.
and Opus Magnum. Opus Magnum.
Queen of Crows. Queen of Crows. Opus Magnum. Don't forget it, chat room. Write it down and thank us later. Okay. Today, Legal Geek covers protecting Jet Li's ninja movies. Moves, rather. Not movies. Moves. His moves. His actual set of physical moves he makes as a ninja. A review of the new story, why Jet Li turned down a major role in the Matrix sequels. If you want to learn about that. our resident legal geek, a real lawyer, will be here to talk about it right after we stop here. So don't go anywhere.
I don't mean this to sound disrespectful. It's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
But every time I put Jet Dry in my dishwasher, I think of Jet Li.
Really?
I don't consider him in any way equivalent to Jet Dry.
Right.
It just, I see Jet and I'm like, oh, like Jet Li. Just pops into my head.
That's fine. I do that with what is it? There's something like that for me. Is it in here? I mean, everyone does. We have things like that, right? You see a thing.
It's just the word Jet. I see the word Jet and I think Jet Li.
That's fine.
If nothing else, it's a compliment to Jet Li that the word Jet now means Jet Li for me. It does not mean the football team or the airplane.
Right.
It means Jet Li.
Right. I completely understand. But yeah, that's going to be a fun listen. So check that out after the show. Before we go, though, Tom Merritt, anything you'd like to mention before we leave?
I mentioned this previously on Current Geek, but there's news about it that maybe by the time you hear this, it'll be available. I have submitted the audiobook for my novel Gallium to Audible as read by Veronica Belmont. So it is working its way through the deep, dark halls of approval at Audible. And so my fingers are crossed that they don't find anything wrong with it. And it comes up in Audible soon, available for purchase with your Audible credits or with your dollar credits. So keep an eye out for that at audible.com, and I'll let you know as soon as I know it's published at TomMerrittBooks.com.
My favorite raid in World of Warcraft is the Halls of Approval. Ah, good stuff. Never forget those. Never forget.
Oh man, the boss fight on Halls of Approval though.
Completely memorable.
You have to modify your codec export. You need right.
You really just need to be there. And now you're out leveling at everybody. Sorry.
Do you want me? Do you want to hear a little sample?
Yeah, let's hear it. Do you have some right there?
This is not the sample Scott was playing the other day.
Right.
This is a real one.
Okay.
New orders. The next morning, Ray got up early and made Maya tortas, an excellent combination of egg and fried meat with his secret sauce. They were delicious.
She's so convinced how delicious they were.
They were delicious.
Veronica, always knocking it out of the park. Nice job. That's her there as well. And here's her also. That's a longer version.
Those are not excerpts from the audiobook.
Nope.
Sadly.
Nope. Those were on the cutting room floor. All right, that's going to do it for us, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it very muchly. We'll be back next week with our, what are we doing? Autopilot, right? What's our...
Yeah, we're doing The Office.
Oh, right, The Office.
UK and US.
Yeah, US and UK. We're doing both because we think they both deserve it. So we're going to do that next week. And if you have any thoughts or comments on any of that, let us know ahead of time. We're at CurrentGeek.com where you'll find all of our stuff. And as always, thank you all for listening. We'll see you then.
Was that a softer end?